Wait, is Apple actually doing something interesting with AI? Tune in now to find out. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Now, when it comes to Gen AI, Apple are certified bag fumblers. It has just been mistake after mistake and error after error and delay after delay and underwhelming thing after underwhelming thing when it comes to this company's AI strategy. So much so that in March, I did a podcast all about 6 Hail Marys Apple could do to get back in the AI game. And a big theme of that was to work with people who are not fumbling the bag. Well, interestingly, we got reports at the end of last week that Apple is teaming up with Anthropic on an AI coding platform. This comes from Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, who's maybe the best positioned source in the mainstream media when it comes to Apple strategy. He wrote that the two companies are working on Vibecoding software that will write, edit, and test code on behalf of software engineers. Gurman's sources say that the system is a new version of Xcode, which is Apple's programming software, and it will integrate Anthropic's Claude Sonnet model. At least initially, the focus will be entirely internal, and Apple has not yet decided whether to launch it publicly. So it appears, at least from the limited information we have so far, that this is Apple using AI, basically building its own version of Cursor to speed up its own internal product development. And this follows from an announcement last year when Apple said that they were building their own AI coding tool for Xcode called Swift Assist that they ended up never rolling out. Now, keep in mind that not only is Apple now far behind when it comes to consumer-facing AI, both Google and Microsoft are saying up to about 30% of their code is now written by AI. And that's presumably driven by their own models rather than being farmed out to Anthropic. So again, not only is Apple now behind when it comes to AI for consumer purposes, they're also just behind in using it themselves. For the last couple of months, it has seemed like Apple is starting to make some moves in this area. They've shifted around a bunch of leadership, pulled over the people in charge of Vision Pro and put them in charge of Siri. And Tim Cook tried to put a positive spin on the company's lackluster AI rollout on a recent earnings call. Cook said, "We're very excited about the roadmap, and we are pleased with the progress that we're making." When it came to building their own models or partnering with others, Cook said, "I don't view it as an all or one or all of the other." And yet still for every one of us outside, I think Alexandre Andrianov's take is pretty reflective when he writes, "Apple should buy Anthropic before it's too late." This was indeed the biggest Hail Mary that I had suggested back in March. So will we see it actually come to fruition? Well, like I said back then, I'm not particularly sure that Anthropic is looking to be bought, but if I were Apple, I would certainly be trying. Next up, speaking oppositely of a big tech AI product that people actually love, Google's Notebook LM is getting its own app, and that app is set to launch on May 20th on both iOS and Android. The free standalone app is now available for pre-order on both platforms. Since its launch back in 2023, Notebook LM has been only available via desktop. And I think for fans of Notebook LM, this shows that Google is still investing in that complete app experience rather than just ripping out the viral audio overviews feature. Audio overviews recently moved out of Notebook LM and into the main Gemini assistant as well. And some thought that maybe the plan was to integrate everything into the singular Gemini experience rather than offering a range of interfaces. But this does appear to suggest that Google is actually doubling down on Notebook LM in total as a major AI platform. Now, the May 20 launch lines up with the first day of the Google I/O conference, so we'll probably get some more news about it then. Lastly today, OpenAI continues to deal with the fallout from GPT-4o's sycophantic personality, introducing a new framework for rolling out updates. In an expanded postmortem published on Friday, OpenAI discussed their post-training and testing process. They wrote that in building their latest update, the one that went a little haywire, quote, "We had candidate improvements to better incorporate user feedback, memory, and fresher data, among others. Our early assessment is that each of these changes, which had looked beneficial individually, may have played a part in tipping the scales on sycophancy when combined." Now, as a result of these challenges, OpenAI has now changed the way that they'll introduce model updates. They will initially hold a public test with an opt-in alpha phase for new model post-training that could change its personality. Transparency will also be increased, with the company writing, "Because we expected this to be a fairly subtle update, we didn't proactively announce it. Also, our release notes didn't have enough information about the changes we'd made. Going forward, we'll proactively communicate about the updates we're making to the models in ChatGPT, whether subtle or not. And like we do with major model launches, when we announce incremental updates to ChatGPT, we'll now include an explanation of known limitations so users can understand the good and the bad." OpenAI has also committed to blocking model updates based on qualitative signals, even in their words, when metrics like A/B testing look good. Indeed, this seems to have been a problem with the latest update, where OpenAI did not defer to their model testers and instead relied on beta users who enjoyed the sycophantic responses. The company wrote, "Some expert testers had indicated that the model behavior felt slightly off. They continued, "We then had a decision to make. Should we be withholding deploying this update despite positive evaluations and A/B test results, based only on the subjective flags of the expert testers? In the end, we decided to launch the model due to the positive signals from the users who tried it out. Unfortunately, this was the wrong call. We built these models for our users, and while user feedback is critical to our decisions, it's ultimately our responsibility to interpret that feedback correctly." The entire episode demonstrates just how much model behavior can change with just a small tweak to the system prompts. It also shows that simple A/B testing shouldn't necessarily be the North Star for building useful models. Andrew Main, a former OpenAI employee, recalled a similar incident, demonstrating how hard it is to get system prompts right. He wrote, "Early on at OpenAI, I had a disagreement with a colleague, who is now a founder of another lab, over using the word polite in a prompt example I wrote. They argued polite was politically incorrect and wanted to swap it for helpful. I pointed out that focusing only on helpfulness can make a model overly compliant. So compliant, in fact, that it can be steered into sexual content within a few turns. After I demonstrated that risk with a simple exchange, the prompt kept polite. These models are weird." Good news for us is that each of these challenges, when happening live, gives us a chance to learn a little bit more about what's going on and potentially steer things in the right direction. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.